Hey there, YouTube. This is Mr. Budget coming in today with a updated deck profile of my Altmile build. So, I played in the recent BCS for White Plains, New York. Uh, if you guys want to relate back to the Finware video, or that I got top 8 in V Premium. But for the past couple of months after that, I've been thinking about what's the next thing for me to focus on. Seeing that how I didn't do so well in the premium version with Finrare, so I was wondering like what will be the next thing for me to in my arsenal of budget decks for me to try to figure out how to make work in the current landscape of the meta that we're in right now. So I landed on Altmile. I've been if you guys watch my last hour video, I'll post somewhere down below or put a link somewhere to it. I was working on like 4 different decks, trying to figure out what will be best for the budget players to play in the meta. But I've always come back to Altmile. Altmile was my first deck, first video ever on my channel, first deck I ever had, things like that. So I was wondering, how can I make this deck as consistent? Sorry, that's the update. How can I make this deck more consistent? So I've been tweaking with it, playing with it. I kind of landed on this build. It has proven to be very consistent, hitting very decent numbers, getting where I want to go very quickly, giving me enough options to play around with the grade 3 ratios. The ratios of the entire deck, which you're going to see in this deck, is very out of the unnorm, but it's been working for me. I hope it works for you too. If for any of those Altmile enthusiasts out there who want to play this deck. So we're going to jump right into it, and I'll tell you my choices of how the deck has changed, why my ratios are what they are, and things like that. So we're going to jump right into the grade 3s as usual. We're playing 3 copies of Area of the Vinite Altmile. For those who don't know, grade 3 Twin Drive Force. Constant on the Vanguard Circle. If you have no cards physically in your damage zone, all of your grade 2 units get plus 10k power, 5k shield, and if there's a Altmile card in your soul, they all get plus 1 crit. Then he has the Axe skill, once per turn, counterblast 1, soul blast 1. Call up to 2 grade 2 units, 1 from your drop zone and 1 from your deck to rearguard circles. You're going to use this effect once per turn. So very good boss. It ties in very well with a good stride, with one of the most prevalent Royal Paladin strides to copy this ability. So it's very nice. The other grade 3 that we play are 3 copies of G era Blue Sky Knight Altmile. Now the reason why we're playing this is because we do have the History Collection stride, which allows us to, when you are on this version of Altmile, to superior stride in the main phase by ditching a grade 3, and for doing that you are presented with 2 force markers of your choice. So we're only using him. The prevalent about that is that you're allowed to do that while your opponent is at grade 2 or below. So this way you're able to early stride and get a little pressure going. I found out that's where you really want to go. That's how you really want to start out your grade 3 turn, by riding Blue Sky Knight Altmile to get as much pressure as possible. And then on turn 4, you want to follow up with Aerial to kind of finish out the game with the Crystal Luster Dragon stride. So you want to go History Collection stride with this, and then Crystal Luster to close out. So I've been finding out that has been the winning image of this deck, and that's how you really want to start out. Now the next grade 3 that we're going to show you is the reason why you're able to pivot between these two very easily. We play 3 copies of Knight of Connections Pictus. Now Pictus is an old Brave card that I had stashed away somewhere and didn't really think too much about it until I actually reread the effect. I'm going to read it for you now. Auto. Choose a card from your hand and discard it. When this unit is placed on the Vanguard or Rearguard circle, you may pay the cost. If you do, you may search your deck for a card with Altmile in its card name and reveal it to your opponent. If Pictus is on the Vanguard circle, you ride the Altmile that you revealed. If he is on the Rearguard circle, you add the Altmile that you revealed to your hand. This does count as a ride, so if you do end up riding Aerial, you do get the force marker off of the ride effect. But the point is that you ride Pictus, it searches out Diera Blue Sky Knight Altmile, allowing you to ride it without having it in your hand. And then if you have another copy of Pictus when you're going into your turn 4, you ride that and then search out the Aerial, and then also get a force marker because it's a It is a legit ride. So pitches allows you to teeter between these two on turn 3 and turn 4. The last grade 3 that we also he has a Generation Break 1 Brave skill. While you're in Brave, for those who don't know what the keyword Brave is, for Royal Paladin, if you have 3 or less cards in your hand, you get to perform a Brave skill that's designated. His Brave skill that he gets plus 5k until the end of turn, so he becomes a 16k rear guard. The last grade 3 that we're playing are 3 copies of the grade 3 heal trigger. So before you all crucify me in the comment section down below, yes, I do play 3 heals because for this build, I'm considering the Aura trigger to be the 4th heal in the deck for space reasons. Trust me, I have my friend group at my locus have been crucifying me for it, but to me it seems it's very viable. It works. You don't want the game to go too long to where you actually need all 4 heal triggers to survive a turn. If it does, then the game's just not swinging in your favor. This deck does move, has very many moving pieces, and it does move fast. So I believe 3 heal triggers and counting the over trigger as the 4th heal trigger is the way to go for this type of build, because you're swinging and you're aggroing very fast. So those are all the grade 3s. Next, we're going to go into the bread and butter of the deck, the grade 2s. We play 4 copies of Counteroffensive Knight Solomon. The reason why we're playing 4 copies of Solomon is that Solomon is the key lynch to your grade 2 strategy. He allows you to flood your board and also retain your hand by bouncing cards back. So you're going to be calling Solomon at least twice a turn, minimum of 1. He's always going to be on the board. Because the pick is always allowing you to re-ride twice, you're going to have enough soul you're always going to have an abundance of soul to pay for his cost. For those who don't know, his Vanguard skill is that when he's placed, you check top 7 for an Altmile and call it. That way you can use his secondary skill to bounce the Altmile back in your hand so that you have the proper ride target. His secondary skill is Vanguard or Rearguard. When he attacks, you may Soul Blast 1, choose a unit in a different column than he is in, and bounce that card back to hand. He gets plus 5. So he's a 15k beater on Vanguard or Rearguard, and he always allows you to recoup your hand. Next, we play 3 copies of the new Ride Fixer, which is the brand new version of Knight of Twin Swords. This is Knight of Instant Flash Codifel. So his ride fixing skill is, as always, you may discard him during the ride phase while you're at grade 2 or below. Look at the top 5, reveal up to 1 grade 2 or lower card from your hand and add it to your hand. His unique skill is that when he's boosted on Vanguard or Rearguard Circle, you may Counterblast 1 and Superior Call a grade 2 that does not share the same name as him. So he is a Knight of Twin Swords Amber clone to a T. The benefit is that he's able to perform on Vanguard or Rearguard. So the idea is to boost him. So for example, if you were to boost him with, let's say, a critical trigger, you would boost, Counterblast 1, Superior Call Solomon skill, Soul Blast 1, bounce the trigger back to your hand. That way you aggroed and recouped a large shield value from your hand. So that's the way that I use him when he's on the Vanguard Circle. But when he's on the Rearguard Circle, he is a multi-attack tool. With this deck, I come to understand, off of just pure aggro, you're going to get about 4 attacks. If you do hit triggers, those could go up, hint, hint. But you're really going to get no more than 4 attacks. So Hanali won't really affect your game state, your playing, or anything like that. But you'll get 4 good, decent, strong attacks out of this. Next, we play 3 copies of Disconnect Dragon. Again, this deck does suffer from soul, so you don't get a whole lot of it. So Disconnect here is to supplement that. But on top of that, if you do soul charge a trigger, he does become a 20k unit by himself. Under Altmile's condition, he becomes a 30k unit with a critical by himself. So he can become a decent enough beat stick. And bouncing him back with Solomon's skill allows you to keep playing him over and over again. So his effect on Rearguard is when he's placed in a column with another unit, you get the soul charge. If the soul charge unit is a trigger, he gets plus 10k. So at least that way you're able to constantly maintain a soul and maintain power. Now the last 2 grade 2s we play at 2-ofs. We play 2 copies of Starlight Violinist. Very simple skill. Constant on Rearguard. If you have no cards facing in your damage zone, all your grade 2s have the ability to intercept from the back row, and they have the ability to boost. So, in junction with Catafel, who needs a counterblast, this does not work very well. So the question is, outside of your grade 1s that you do play in the deck, how do you get a booster behind Catafel if you don't want to use triggers or grade 1s? I play 2 copies of Divine Sister and Longy Chop from the D era. Her effect is, as long as you have a grade 3 in Soul, she gets 5k in the ability to boost. So by using her with Catafel, you're making a 25k column. With under Altmile's condition, you're making a 45k column with a crit. So numbers do matter. That is a magic number. That means your opponent has to guard a little bit higher than just getting over to, with Sisyphus, it might be, what, a 43k column? They can guard 45 and guard, but if you're at 45, they have to at least guard 60 just to guard your attack. That 5k does matter for your next swings. These are all the grade 2s that we play. Next, we're going to go into the grade 1s. Play 3 copies of Laurel Knight Sisyphus. This is our V-Era grade 3 searcher. So, because we're running Pictus, and Pictus basically finds you any Altmile, you don't have to play the G-Era version of this unit. So this gives you a little bit more flexibility. And again, you do want to find your Pictuses. So, Vanguard, Rearguard, you may look at the top 5, reveal up to 1 grade 3, add it to your hand, discard a card. His unique skill is that as long as there's no face-up cards in your damage zone, he gets +5. You play 3 copies of Flashing Knight Edith. Edith here is another Altmile searcher. On Rearguard Circle, you may Soul Blast 1. Look at the top 7 cards for an Altmile card. Reveal it and call it to the same column as her. At the end, and then her other skills. At the end of the turn, she boosted a grade 3. You may move that grade 3 to your soul and bounce her back. So this is another way for you to get the Altmile name in the soul for Ariel. But again, that's as if you're trying to turbo into that. But because we have the history collection, you're not really going into Ariel until turn 4. Next, we play 3 copies of Knight of Excellent Sword Lucas. Lucas here is a draw card. So whenever you ride a grade 3 or higher unit, so if you ride a grade 3, if you stride, you may move Lucas into the soul. So another way to build soul, draw a card, and then call a card. So mind you, you can call another copy of Lucas. So if Lucas is on board, you ride Pictus, Lucas into soul, draw a card, call another card, Pictus' skill, ride Altmile, Lucas' skill again, into soul, draw a card, call a card. So this is a good way to like filter out to your deck. If you're ever lucky enough to have 2 of them in your hand, even 3 of them in your hand. They do stack if you have multiple on board. And because of the auto effect clause, you get to choose when they go off. The last grade 1 we play is 1 copies of Element Sanctitude. It's a perfect guard. It's an order perfect guard, so it gets around certain matchups. Those are all the grade 1s that we play. We only play 10 grade 1s, 9 ride targets. Going into the grade 0s, we have our V-Starter and Blinking Knight Milius. Normal V-Starter, if you go second, you get a quick shield. If not, you draw a card when you ride. We play the red Cray Elemental OT for restanding. This is another way for you to get a few more attacks in outside of those 4 attacks we talked about earlier. If not, this is another good way to call a card and get another draw and just continue beating down. We play 3 copies of Bringer of Good Dreams Bellius. This card has been eroded for the history collection. It has 10k power, 15k shield, same effects as below, but it has an additional effect. If you damage check this card, you get to draw a card. So not only is it a critical trigger, it's also a draw trigger as well. We play 3 copies of Saint Flare Draco Kid. This is a stride deck, so you want to have stride fodder in the deck. We play 3 copies of Flash Shield Assault. Again, draw trigger, Sentinel. We play 3 because we have the Sanctitude as the 4th. And then we also play 3 copies of Encore Angel, which is our stand trigger. So this card, funny enough, catches people off guard. No one ever thinks Royal Paladins are playing stand triggers anymore. But under Altmile's condition, having units swing at you with multiple crits more than once can be very scary. And then under the stride unit, not glorious rating. It's Gold Paladin. Under the skill of Crystal Luster Dragon's Generation Break 3, your opponent must guard with 3 or more cards from the hand. So having multiple attacks come at them constantly, and then they think it's over, then you attack with the Vanguard, and then you hit a stand trigger, and then you stand with a rear guard again. Most 9 times out of 10 that clears out the game for you. So having this just as a secret weapon that people don't think is going to come up, so it really makes a difference. This is the reason why I'm running all of my triggers at 3, because I needed room for this, but I wanted to give enough pressure for the crits. So running them all at 3, it doesn't really bother the deck too much. It just gives me a larger pool for Rainbow. Okay, that is the main deck. We're going to go right into the G-Zone. So G-Zone hasn't really changed too much, just a little bit. We are playing 2 copies of Era Divine Knight Altmile. This is just for if I don't have any counterblast or whatever the case being, or 9 times out of 10, this is just going to be flip fodder. I keep the Altmile name because just for the nostalgia reasons, because it's an Altmile deck. Same reason in my Fenrir video why I keep the Fenrir Stride in the deck, even though you really don't go into it, just for nostalgia reasons. I played 2 copies of the new Errata Divine Knight Godblade. So Godblade's new skill is when you ride him, if your heart card is in Altmile, you may flip over a copy of this card. If you have not received any imaginary gifts this turn, create 2 imaginary gift force markers of your choice. And then his other skill is that his original on-hit skill, even if the attack does not hit, any on-hit skills that he does have will trigger. So his on-hit skill is that at the end of the battle, you may superior call a grade 2 grade 2 or higher unit from your deck. 9 times out of 10, you're just gonna call a grade 2. There's really nothing in here that you want to call as grade 3 to help you out. No grade 3s help you extend or anything like that. So again, 9 times out of 10, you're gonna be calling Caudifiel just to get another extender. We've been talking about him all video. We played 2 copies of Holy Dragon, Crystal Luster Dragon. This is a part of your winning image, your end turn 4. His effects are act. You may turn a card face up in your G-Zone, Altmile. You may this card gains all of the abilities of your original heart card. So cards like Era Divine Knight Altmile, who gives all of your rear guards power and crit, he gets to copy that. So that's kind of the reason why you want to do all that. Get all your counterblast face down. That way you're swinging for multiple damage. His other effect is Generation Break 3. If you have 3 or more grade 2 or higher units, including himself, your opponent must guard with 3 or more cards from the hand for every battle. So it's a triple battle door effect. It's mandatory. If they want to guard at all from the hand, they must guard with 3 or more cards at all times. Next, we played 2 copies of Blazing Sword Fetus. This is a original Brave unit, but we do not run any Brave cards, especially no Brave grade 2s. But his effect is just another way to get grade 2s out of your deck. More prevalent, Caudifiel. He is one of your other linchpins of the deck. You want to get Caudifiel so you can go into Saruman and things like that. So his effect is act. Once returned, turn a card face up in the G-Zone, a copy of himself. If there's a copy of Blazing Sword Fetus in your G-Zone face up, you may superior call a grade 2. And then this unit, if this unit gets the ability of the grade 2 that you called Brave, it's a Brave unit, you get to retire one of your opponent's rear guards. That effect is never going to come up because we don't run any Brave grade 2 units. He is only here to if we don't have any counterblasts, or if for some reason the game has gone too long, we don't have any more Crystal Lusters. This is just another way to get another unit on board. The last Stride unit that we play are 2 copies of Holy Dragon, Luminous Hope Dragon. Luminous Hope is similar to Fetus. If the game has gone too long and we're out of fetuses, we go into this, flip up a copy of himself. There will be 3 Brave units face up in your G-Zone. For every Brave unit face up, he gets plus 10k. For every copy of himself, he gets plus 10k. Then for every Brave unit, if there are 2 or more, you get the superior call of grade 2. If there are 3 or more, he'll get a crit. So there's another way just to end the game if the game has gone too long and you have no other way to close out. 9 times out of 10, you're really not going into these 2. They're just there. This is really what you're going to be using most times or not. This is going to be turn 3. This will be turn 4. 9 times out of 10, you will be winning the game around turn 4. Those are all the strides. We're going to go into the G unit, G Guardians, excuse me. We play 2 copies of Vivid Sacred Staff Argonas. Argonas' skill, let me just turn it around. Argonas' skill is very simple. If you have two or more grade 2 units on board, he gets plus 10k to the shield. So he's a 25k shield. A lot of the Royal Paladin shields are 25k shields outside of one for this specific deck, but it's a real niche card to go into, which we're going to go into right now. We played 2 copies of Divine Knight of Godly Defense Igraine. This is Altmile's personal G Guardian. If you have a Vanguard with Altmile's card name, you may Soul Blast 1. This unit gets plus 10k to the shield. And then Generation Break 1, if you're in the Brave state, you get an additional plus 5. So this is the only G Guardian that can possibly go up to 30k shield. But you must be in a dire state to get that an additional 5k shield. But it does come up sometimes. Sometimes your hand does get run out. I found out in my testing, most times than not, I'm only going to have 6 cards in my hand. Unfortunately, again, there's not a lot of draw power in the deck. There's a lot of filtering, just not a whole lot of draw power. So being in a dire state, she does help a lot and does come up, being a 30k shield. The other card that does come up a lot is Faithful Sacred Staff Morghast. Morghast was the newest addition to the Royal Paladin G Guardians. Her effect is when placed on a guard circle, you can choose one of your grade 2 units and give it the red text ability. When that card intercepts, you may counterblast 1, Soul Blast 1. That grade 2 becomes a complete guard. So this was the complete guard version of the G Guardians a lot of the clans got. I wish that she would become a complete guard and not having to have a rear guard on board to do it. But beggars can't be choosers. She is the kind of the emergency button if you're able to get it off. You kind of have to lead your opponent into this by taking certain attacks and leaving and protecting certain units. So if your opponent knows about this, they won't let you play into it. So you kind of have to just kind of secretly lead them into this type of play. The last one we play is Holy Beast Divine Maskell. Maskell is similar to Argonas in the respect that his effect is Generation Break 1. Flip over another G Guardian. If you have a grade 2 in your front row, he gets plus 10k to his shield. So where Argonas needs 2 rear guards anywhere, he needs 1 in the front row. So you really don't go into him too often, but when we do, it's just another 10k shield. So we have a perfect guard, a 25k shield, and a possible 30k shield. That is all of the G Guardians that you're going to be playing here. Unfortunately, a lot of the Royal Paladin G Guardians are very segregated in what they can do and who they can do it for, which is funny because this is the clan that fights together. But I digress. Again, this is a Force deck. I play Force 1 because you would like to see numbers because Air Divine Altmile does give your rear guards crit, so you really don't need to bump their crit value up. But having high numbers really matters in this deck because your most clans draw an absurd amount of card value in their hand for shielding. So you want to get those cards out of their hand, so you need extremely high numbers so they are forced to guard more. So that is the entirety of the deck in a nutshell. And since we have a little bit of time, I'm going to do a bit of a test hand. Just kind of roll through, see how the deck works and what could come up in certain plays. So we're going to give the deck a bit of a shuffle real quick. See what we get in our opening hand and see how a turn 3 turn plays out for this deck build. Do keep in mind, variants do matter, things like that. You won't always get the same hands as I do. Learning to play on a pivot is essential to any good card fighter. You must be able to read the board state and know exactly what to do, when to do it, when to guard, when not to guard. That is the difference between a good player and a average player, I would say. So we're going to open up with 5 cards after a good shuffle and a good cut. So let's see what we got. Yeah, grade 1, grade 3. I picked this. That's really good. That's really good. Really good. So we're going to throw back the 2 trigger units. Let's see what we had another trigger and another trigger. So we're going to be trying to fish for a grade 2. Which, fortunate for us, we have abundance of in this deck. So we're going to cut the deck. We're going to shuffle the deck again. Give it a good cut. Okay. And since we're going first, we're going to draw for turn. We're going ahead and ride skill of the starter. Draw again. Skill, look at the top 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's see, any grade 3s? Nope, we don't want to get anything because we already have the Pictus in hand. So basically by having the Pictus in hand, we have free access to all of our Altmile, so there's really no reason to get them out of the deck right now and lose card value in your hand. Okay. Our opponent rides. We're going to end the turn there. Attacks, damage check. We have a grade 3. We draw. Unfortunately, we do not get a grade 2, funny enough. So we're going to G-assist. Look at the top 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to ride into the Suleiman. In this case, we can get rid of one of the grade 1s here. And yeah, we'll get rid of a crit. Right? So we're shuffling up again. Mind you, keep in mind, you're going to be shuffling a lot in this deck because you're going to be doing a lot of searching throughout your turns. Check top 7 for an Altmile. 1, 2, 3. Off the top 3, we get Aerial. So we're going to shuffle the deck again. It's too bad we don't have a card that says every time you shuffle the deck, it gains power. It would be very useful in times like this. Alright, good cut. Let's see, we don't want to lose anything in our hands. We have a good enough pressure, so we're going to swing for 13. They're going to most likely going to guard it. We'll swing with the Vanguard skill. Soul Blast, bouncing it back, getting more card advantage. It becomes 15 now. Draw check. We have a heal trigger, pretty good. We heal. Pass turn to our opponent. They ride the grade 2. They call a grade 2. They swing with the rear guard. We're going to take it. No trigger. Swing the Vanguard. We're going to take it. Let's say, for example, no trigger. All right. So then we stand. Draw. So here's how this works. We're going to ride it into Pictus. Pictus is skill. We're going to discard a grade 1. We're going to search our deck for a copy of Blue Sky Knight Altmile. There you are, the last one in the deck. That's the reason why I was running 3 of them, because usually I draw or damage check at least 2. So having that third one does make this valuable. So I kept running into that issue. That's why I decided to bump all of them up to 3. Since Pictus is on the Vanguard circle, we ride Altmile. So now we're in the main phase. We're going to use the skill from the G-Zone. So we're going to pitch. We are going to Superior Stride into Godblade. Godblade skill. Flip over copying stuff. Since we don't have any force markers, we now receive 2. Now we're going to use Altmile Stride skill. Counter Blast 1. Superior Calling 2 units. 1. 2. Go ahead and Superior Call those 2. Yep. And then those 2 units will gain plus 5k power. Alright. Let's see. What's the next thing to do? Kind of wish I didn't get rid of that crit now, but oh well. So the next thing we can do here, we can move this up. Just so we can get some even number of attacks. So we're going to attack here first for 25. Then the Vanguard will attack for 26. Perform triple drive. First check, no trigger. Second check, no trigger. Third check, critical. We'll give crit to the Vanguard, power to the rear guard. Effective Godblades on hit skill, even if the attack didn't hit. Superior Call Cataphrel. Give the deck a good shuffle, but we're going to go back in there momentarily. Then we're going to swing with Cataphrel. Skill. Counter Blast 1. Superior Call a grade 2 unit. In this case, we're going to Superior Call Suleiman. So this now is 10, 20, 35, 30, 35, 39. 39 swinging at your opponent's Vanguard. Then we're going to swing with Suleiman's skill, Soul Blasting 1. bouncing the crit back to hand for guard value for later. He'll gain plus 5k power. So now he's swinging for 25. So we swung 1, 2, 3, 4 attacks with all above being 25k power. So while your opponent is at grade 2. So your opponent's either going to lose all their hand or take a whole bunch of damage unless they hit the over trigger or a bunch of triggers. Do keep in mind you will be sitting on Altmile on this Altmile for a turn. So this is what our hand is currently looking like. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cards, 7 cards in hand. You have a decent enough defense with the G Guardian and the Sentinel Perfect Guard. Sorry, the Order Perfect Guard. So let's say, for example, you use these to guard. Let's remove yourself from game. Let's say just for example, you go into Argonos, right? And you've taken no more than 1 bit of damage. So that's pretty good. You get to draw another card. And this is what your hand is looking like. So now you're going to go into your next turn. You're going to stand. You draw. That's pretty good. You're going to ride into Area of the Divine Altmile, which will give you another force marker. Just for the sake of reasoning, this is a force 1. I had to get another copy. And then you're going to pitch for stride. You're going to go into Crystal Luster Dragon, copy. So now Crystal Luster Dragon has the effect of Altmile. So you're going to call and call. Now you have the option of whether or not you're going to go into 3 attacks or 4 attacks. In this situation, I would personally go into 4 attacks instead of going into 3 attacks. It does matter. It does come up. So I'm actually going to move Catafel here. I will call Lucas to the back row for the reasons of doing this. Going into battle. Attack, skill, Soul Blasting 1. We're going to bounce Lucas back to the hand to give this plus 5. So that's now 10, 20, 30, 35. Generation Break 3. Your opponent must guard with 3 or more cards. Then, because we have a grade 3 in Soul, this gets plus 5k and the ability to boost. We will attack, skill, counterblast, superior call a grade 2 unit. In this scenario, we are going to superior call Starlight Violinist, allowing this grade 2 to have the ability to boost now since we have nothing face up. And because now we have nothing face up, the ability of the her card of Area Divine Altmile now kicks in. These all go up by 10. These all go by 10. 5k shield. And because there's an Altmile in the soul, they all get plus 1 crit. So this is now 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 55 in a crit. And they must guard this attack with 3 or more cards. Not to mention they have another 28 and then another 10, 20, 30, 40, 60k column to contend with on the next swing. So we swing, triple drive, stand trigger. I talked about this earlier. So now we're going to stand and give this unit plus 5. Second check, no trigger. Third check, no trigger. So now they have to contest with a 10, 20, 30, another 35 in a crit. And then now they have to contest with a 60k in a crit. So 9 times out of 10, unless they get very, very lucky or they get a lot of hand, they are not surviving this. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 attacks hitting over 35k power on every attack outside of the Vanguard attack, and they have to guard with 3 or more cards for every attack. There's no way they're surviving this unless they get very, very lucky. So that's that is the new Altmile deck. That's what I came up with. I hope you all enjoyed. I hope you all got inspired by this to try this deck out. I find it very interesting. I find it very fun. It's a new turn, a new spin on the deck with using old cards and new cards all in same conjunction with one another. The issue with the 2 versions of Altmile is that a lot of the Brave units don't work with this with Ariel's new playstyle without having any cards face up, because a lot of them want cards face up so they can multi-attack. But I find this is a good way to bridge the two types together. So if you guys liked what you saw here, please leave a comment down below. Like, subscribe, hit the notification button so you guys are always updated to whenever I post a new video online. I am taking community polls for my next videos coming up, of what decks you guys want me to play, or not well play, what decks you would like me to build, or what decks that you guys are interested in figuring out. Please put a comment down below of what decks you would like to see or what you're having trouble with coming up with, and I'll give my opinion on it in a video. The next video coming up is Genesis Witches, an updated version of that deck. One of the community members did ask for it, so I have not forgotten. I'm still figuring it out and everything like that. It will be coming up soon. So I thought in the meantime, I'll just give you one of my pet decks and show you what I come up with so far. Like I said, in testing, the deck has been working out very, very well. You do hit constant numbers at least over 30k all the time. A lot of pressure. You're swinging 4 times minimum usually, so your opponent's Hanalies won't really affect you. It's very rare that you do get to the fourth or sixth attack. That's usually if you hit stand triggers, but I digress. But normally you're going to be swinging very big with 4 attacks. The game plan is to get to turn 3, Blue Sky Knight Altmile to go into the history, survive the turn, go to turn 4, ride into aerial, and then clap back really, really hard. That is the game plan. So far, it has been working very well. I haven't had any trouble with it. So again, if you guys like, please subscribe, comment down below. All of that does help the channel little by little. We are trying to get higher and higher, as many people as we can on this channel, on this platform, to just be a advocate for budget decks in the premium landscape, even in the V landscape and somewhat in the standard landscape, even though I don't think budget decks can really survive there. Bushiroad has not been giving budget decks in the overdress format, which is standard, any real love or support, in my opinion. So it's hard, but I have been turning a lot of those pseudo budget decks into premium decks. If you guys have any recommendations on turning any of those into premium decks, please leave a comment down below. I'll be more than happy to take a look and see what I can come up with. But in the meantime, this has been Mr. Budget, and we will see you here next time. God bless.